Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn something new. I just actually learned this last night. I've always wanted to try it and I finally had a reason to do it. It was successful, so I wanted to share it with you today, and that is how to make a hollow resin cast. What is a hollow resin cast? Let's say you have something like this. This is something I made last year. It's my statue of my doggy. Yeah, it's a statue of my dog. It's solid resin, and the mold was about this big, as you can see. Now to fill the mold up, it took a lot of resin. Of course, it sat like this. I poured the resin in, it filled it up. It took quite a bit of resin to make this, and this is solid. So what I learned to do last night was to make something same size, but we're gonna make it hollow inside, which saves you a lot of resin. This thing has some weight to it. After we make one today, the one we make isn't gonna have as much weight. We're not making this today. I don't need any more. We're actually gonna make one of these. See, it's about the same size. You might recognize this from a famous Harrison Ford movie. But this is what I'm going to show you how to make. This is the one I made last night. It is much, much lighter than this. So the reason you'd want to make a hollow casting is if something is big. You don't want, this is how much resin you get in a bottle. It's 16 ounces. There's 2 bottles. This would take probably about maybe a third of that. And this stuff's not cheap. So this, you can cut your costs a little bit and still get what you want. You can see this came out really nice. So let's get to it. Okay, I'm going to shrink myself down here. Still haven't found a button for this. Hey, my videos aren't known for high quality, so. All right, there I am. Here's my work area. And once again, here's the puppy that I made. I make it upside down. And you can see it. Well, this one's the same way, but this has a lot more weight than this does. We're making the gold guy today. Now, all right, we'll set these aside. That's what we're shooting to get. I showed in another video how to make molds using my reusable mold compound. This mold is made the same exact way. I used a ricotta cheese container. As you can see, this is in the shape of a ricotta cheese container because that's what I used. I took my original, I stuck it to the bottom of the cup and filled it up. And this was a very easy one to do. It didn't need venting. It didn't have a lot of articulation. It came out very nicely of the mold. So I'm not going to go over that this time because you can watch the other video. But see, here's where we're going to pour it in. This is actually the bottom of my idol here. So very easy mold, but that's not what we're going to go through today. So if you're going to make a mold that you're going to do hollow, you're going to want to plug this up after you fill it. Now what I've done for that, and this is a very quick way to do it. It just happened to work this time for me. When I poured my resin, I just poured when I made my mold from the resin compound, in this case it's Umu 25 by Smooth One. It's pretty much all I use. I'm very happy with it. For white resin, I mean, the reusable stuff is for clear. Today we're also working with quick drying white resin. Okay, so moving on. I poured a little bit on just a flat surface so I knew it wouldn't stick to. I believe I used the bottom of a Tupperware container to make this just a basic flat piece. And I'm going to put that piece on top here. I'm going to pour the resin first. After I pour the resin, we're going to put this on top. And this is the actual bottom to the ricotta cheese container that I made this mold with. You want to save that. So I'm going to put that on top of there. That forms a seal. Because what we're going to do is this is going to spin around when we're done. When we're making with when we don't want that resin to pour out. So this is the best plug I could make for this particular mold. Some molds, depending on how you make them, most of my molds I like to use a straw. I glue a straw on the top of the thing I'm trying to make, and then that's my vent hole. You could just plug that up with some more resin. You could sometimes a pencil eraser will work too. Whatever you can stuff in there to make sure your resin doesn't come out. Just want to do a quick and dirty overview about that, because once I start pouring this, we're gonna have to work fast. So explain it slowly, and I'll try to explain it also again when I'm doing it. Once again, I'm using the fast cast. I'll show you with this bottle, you can read it better. I'm using the fast cast white resin. Dries within 10 to 15 minutes. Now, like I said, if I was going to fill this mold the way I normally do, I would, measure it out and fill it to the top, but that'd be a heck of a waste of resin. So for this particular one, I guessed last night to do about 1 ounce of each. And it seemed to work just fine for me. So there's 1 ounce of the yellow. And my camera decided to poop. Let's get that back and I'll be right back to finish. Okay, yeah, that camera goes out once in a while. The Wi-Fi gets messed up and it's kind of a pain, but what are you gonna do? Just gotta go with it. But anyway, so we got an ounce of each, part A and part B here that we're gonna use. Get a stirring stick. I'm gonna put it in my cup. That if I'm going too fast, check out my last video, basically resin casting 101 for beginners, and it tells you more in detail exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you guys have seen this. So I pour both my resins in there. Now, here's where you got to work fast. I'm going to stir this, mix it up as usual, and what I'm waiting for, I'm going to stir this a little extra long. Usually I only stirred for about 30 seconds. But because this is going to be time sensitive and what I'm going to show you, we have to be kind of quick with. I'm going to wait till this heats up a little bit. Now I'm going to make myself big so you can see what I'm going to do better on the next step. There we go. Yeah, you're stuck looking at me again. So mix, 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 mix. Now today's a cooler day here in Pennsylvania. It's about 63 degrees outside. So it's going to take a little longer for this to cure. Still stirring, still stirring. Now I'm starting to feel the cup get a little warm. It's not hot, it's warm. This is when I want to get rid of my stick. This is when I want to pour it into my mold. You're going to have to watch me here. I'm just going to pour it right into the top of the mold. It's not going to fill it up. That's not my intention. We're making a hollow mold. So what I want to do is get all that resin on the sides, on the bottom, everywhere I can. This is the top I told you about. It's important to save that when you make your mold. I'm going to hold this down. Now, we're going to spin it. Imagine that liquid in there moving. Now, it always stays down. You want to get it on all sides of your project, including turning it upside down. That's why you have to heat that. Now, you see that piece of silicone on there and the, the plug I made. None of this is leaking out. But you want to keep doing just motions like this. Imagine it hitting all the sides, spin it. You're going to look pretty dumb doing it. I'm not going to lie. And now you ask, okay, well, when can I stop? It takes 10 to 15 minutes for this stuff to set up. But you don't have to sit here and do what I'm doing for 10 to 15 minutes. What I like to do is I have my cup sitting right here that I had already used. And there's a little resin in the bottom of it left. I keep an eye on that. Keep doing this the entire time. I keep an eye on that. When I see that turn to goo, and it won't be long, it'll turn to goo where it won't really run around too much. Then you can be pretty sure you got everything on the outer walls of your mold, and then you can stop. And I'm doing this in real time. When I set it down, I'll pause it and skip to the very end of demolding because it'll still take another 10. I like to leave it in maybe 15 minutes after I'm done because these are delicate when you take them out. And if they're not completely cured, then you could have problems. So I like to wait till they're completely hard. You know, I'm going to look at my stuff in there and it's still a little liquidy, which means this is still liquidy. So I'm just going to spin it around, spin it around, spin it around. What else can we talk about? Did you check out my other videos? Like I said, I did a resin casting 101 video the other day for people who have never casted resin at all. I showed you how to make refrigerator magnets and basically how this resin works. I hope you found that interesting if you got a chance to watch it. If you haven't watched it, hey, give it a shot. You know, I mean, I'm not an expert. This I just learned how to do last night. I just thought I'd share it with you today. I'm not an expert. I don't know everything about this, and I'm always open to suggestions. But I know a lot of people are trying this, and they always have questions. And I've noticed other artists don't want to share the information, and I don't understand why. I'm here to help you guys, show you what I know. I definitely don't know everything, and I probably make a lot of mistakes, and somebody probably knows better ways to do it, probably what we're doing here. I came up with this last night, and by all means, leave it in the comments. Okay, I'm about ready to stop spinning this. Yeah, this guy is, oh no, I told you it's colder out. This is still kind of liquidy, so you're stuck with me. I do other videos too. There's cooking videos on there. I started a new series that I may or may not continue. It's basically life lessons, things we should all know, like how to change a tire, check your oil, you know, how to I'm thinking about doing one like how to do laundry for beginners. A lot of college kids, they go to college, they don't know how to do their laundry. Um, or maybe someone's always had their laundry done for them, and all of a sudden they have to do it, and they don't know that you have to separate and all that stuff. Just everybody should know these things, and I like explaining stuff in case you can't tell. So if I can help, well, I'm here. Okay, I don't know how long I've been spinning this. All right, now we're good. It started to turn to goo finally. Like I said, it's a colder day, so it took longer. Not quite sure how long I sat here and spun it. So I'm just going to set this down and leave it for about 15 minutes, and I'll be right back and we'll show you what we got. Well, it's been about 15 minutes, give or take a minute, and there's enough time for me to eat a tuna sandwich. We're going to check and see if this is ready to demold. You have to be careful on these hollow ones because they're a lot more flimsier than a solid one. So demolding can be tricky. If you do it too soon, you can ruin your piece. So hopefully we're good. And I'm going to show you how to try to determine if it's ready. I'm going to take my little plug off and this thing. Ooh, we got resin on it. Last night it didn't leak. We got this on there. Ew. Shouldn't hurt anything though. Okay, so you run your finger over where you poured it. This is resin here. I can tell it's hot. Or not hot. I can tell that it's pretty much dry. And then as you can see, there's some spillage here went off the edge. That's the thinnest part. If that part's dry, then you know you're probably ready to demold it. You know what? That's a little too soft for me. So I'm going to come back in another 5 minutes and we'll continue. I want to get a little bit harder. We don't want to have any accidents. So I'm just going to let this sit for another 5 minutes. I'll be right back. Okay, it's been 5 minutes again. And this seems to be a little more, yeah, that's a little more, I can tell by touching it, it's a little more dry. So now's the moment of truth. Let's demold it. As you can see, I use masking tape around my molds. You can use rubber bands if you want. Sometimes I do, but I always seem to run out of rubber bands, but I always have masking tape. You can use painter's tape. I don't know, I guess you could use scotch tape if you wanted to. But I prefer masking tape. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Throw that away so it gets stuck on my foot. Okay, let's hope it worked. Just going to carefully separate it. Like I said, this is a lot more fragile than a solid mold. If this is a solid mold, I could just peel that puppy right off there. But I'm going to go slowly, and I'm going to slowly, cannot express that enough, go the whole way around, get it to start disconnecting from my piece, because once again, this is going to be thinner. I don't want it to get gimped up. And you can see it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. I might have done better to make this a two-part mold instead of what I did. I have to peek down in here, so I got to take it off camera for just a second. Just trying to make sure this mold lets go smoothly. It's coming nicely, just very slowly. But it is seeming to work. Right now I can see my piece is getting a little deformed from me pulling on it, which means once again it wasn't dry enough. Hopefully that'll come back. A lot of times, now see how the head's deformed right? I don't know if you can tell or not, but right in here I kind of got some sinkage from my fingers. I'm hoping that that will pop back out. It seems to be popping back out, so yep, I can actually, there, it popped back out. Very little pressure I just put on there. But here it is. I can cut this off with a X-Acto knife when it dries. But there it is. Here's what we were making, and here's what we got. So far I'm very happy with this one too. Doesn't seem to have anything bent from coming out of the mold, and it's very light, like I said, compared to this one. In fact, I wanted to show you this. I got a scale here. The difference in, now these are both about the same volume. If I was to make this one solid, if I was to make This one's solid. They would both be about the same volume as this one, which is solid. So a solid one weighs 10.7 ounces. So that's almost 11 ounces of resin. And paint is just like a microbe of whatever that would be. So let's see what the one we just cast made it weighs without paint. 1.7 ounces. So I didn't even actually use 2 ounces of resin to make that. So that saved me 9 ounces of resin. And like I said, it's kind of expensive. So that's about all I can tell you. I'm going to let this, it's still a little tiny bit soft. I'm going to sit this up for a while, another hour. Your outside temperature has a lot to do with your drying time. Your outside temperature and the thickness of what you're trying to make. This took about 20 minutes to dry to the point where I could take it out. But as I showed you, it's still a little pliable. I'll leave that sit there for another half hour. Maybe it'll be nice and rigid. Then I can trim off the excess that's on the bottom that I showed you, and we'll be good to go. I can do my little secret painting to it, and I'll have one made. So that's how to make a hollow resin cast. I think I covered everything. I know I have a tendency to talk fast and I stumble over my words, but it is what it is. That's me. That's how I talk. I don't write these down as a script because it would come out like an 8th grade book report. That annoys me. So I just kind of just explain it to you how I do it. Any questions, go right ahead, put them in the comments. Like and subscribe, share it, whatever you want to do. If any other suggestions for other videos, this is the second video I've done in the Resin Casting 101 series that I'm going to continue to do as I'm learning new things too, because this was brand new to me last night. And it was very easy. It looks a little complicated, but honestly, it was very easy. The first one I made came out perfect too. I did leave it dry a little bit longer, and yesterday it was like 84 degrees, so it definitely dried quicker yesterday than today. There you have it, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.
All right, then.